Hi everyone, it's Ray from Pro String with another racket restringing tutorial. Today's racket is a tennis racket. As you can see, it is the Head Speed MPS, which stands for spin, I believe. So the Head Speed MPS. 8 holes in the bottom, guys. 4 loops. Therefore, where do we start from? The top? No. Start from the bottom. From the bottom. The first loop is around the top of the racket. Should be a pretty straightforward racket to restring. So we've got one main string to each side, which is also known as our verticals, the mains. 8 to each side, which means we've got 1, 8 minus 1, 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're going to pull this string to shorten up the string so we don't waste so much. Leave yourself a few inches to make sure you reach the tension head. That will vary depending on what stringing machine you're using. Try not to go too long but not too short at the same time. I've measured the string. I measured one part against the frame of the racket as you saw, and then I measured that piece with the rest of the reel. As that, and there you go, pretty even. Okay guys, now we are going to do our first main. As you can see, the clamp will always generally fall down. You want to hold this up in line with the grommets. The grommets are the black small pieces that look like small tubes. That's what protects the string from the racket in itself. Because if not, obviously the rackets, if it wasn't for the grommets, it'd be quite sharp in the small inner circles. So that's why we have the grommets. If you notice any broken grommets, tell the client you can change them if you can. Do have some tutorials on how to change grommets around there somewhere on our channel. Feels a little bit loose. Guys, I am working as normal, so I may be interrupted by phone calls. Expecting my daughter to be dropped off any moment now as well from school. So, stringing always symmetrically and compensating your tension from one side to the other. Don't go 8 strings on one side and none on the other. Recommended is no more than 3 to each side, and then obviously respectively, so 3 again, until you run out of mains. So in this case, we'll do 3, 3, 3, 3, which is 6 to each side, plus 2, which gives us our 8. 8 plus 8, 16. 16, 19 stringing pattern as mentioned on this racket. We are using Pro String Nemesis. Yes, that's our own brand. We have 4 different polyesters. We did have 5. We got rid of our least bestseller. Have been contemplating whether to bring it back or not, but for the rate we sell that string at, we have to buy quite a few reels for it to be worth it from the factory, which then of course sits around for too long, takes up space, storage space and stuff, so less worth it. But anyway, here we go. We've got 6 mains that side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No, I haven't skipped any holes yet. When I say I haven't skipped any holes, I mean our crosses. Our crosses, or known as well as, of course, our horizontal strings. So now we're going to skip one. So it's 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Skip 1, 7, 7. And then we do the same again. And top and bottom. So it's going to be 7. Up your tension, guys, 15 to 20% of whatever tension you are using on your racket. And then we do 7, skip 1, bottom and top, 8. Guys, that is not the case on every racket, so don't try to apply this to every racket. We are trying our best to keep up with as many tutorials as possible. There's lots of rackets out there, and it will take us time to find them all and do videos on them all. But that's our or my intention, to give you guys as much content in case you get stuck on a certain racket, how hopefully these videos may help you guys. So guys, I forgot to mention we are stringing this racket at 55 pounds of tension. However, we're at 59.4 of tension because this is a brand new racket, never been strung, never been used. What's going on with my watch? Nothing yet. But text had come through. Client has requested 55 pounds of tension, which is exactly the equivalent to 25 kilos. When you tie your knot, we're tying it on the 7th main string here, your closest string, where you have access without really doing much work with the awl, preferably. Most rackets will give you the spacing for that. It is odd to find a brand, even if it's a brand new racket, it is odd to not find that space your first main over. So if that's our 8th or 7th, which is our nearest, or 6th, but the 6th is going to be used for our cross strings. Head does a pretty good job of indicating where we need to tie our knots with small circles. No, this one doesn't have circle, it just says tie off C, tie off main. So our tie off on the main is this, and then our cross will now be where it says tie off C. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and a half. 7.5 full lengths of the racket from the top to the bottom of the grip. Don't be stingy and be really tight and measuring. Just nice, flexible, simple measurements until you figure out the right amount for you. So you can apply these measurements 16 by 19 crosses on any racket, 19 crosses, 7.5 full lengths of your racket. If you have a some kind of strange machine that I'm not aware of, or leave yourself a little bit more if you think that the tension head is further away. In this case is the Wilson Bayardo original. For whatever the reason, leave yourself a bit extra. It's always better to have a little bit more than less, as in life. So again, if the racket's brand new like this one is, then you want to make sure you go up on tension, 4.4 pounds. If your machine doesn't do 0.1s or 0.5s, just round it off the top next pound, and 2 kilos. I do find that the tension drops quite a bit more than that. So if you want to go a little bit higher, I guess that's also valid. Especially if it's your own racket. You don't want to go too much higher though, because of the tension. I mean, it will drop, but maybe depending on what they request, tension wise, it could feel quite tight for the client. So just watch out with that. Been using this Wilson Bayardo original for, I think it's coming up to 6 years now soon. Can't believe Pro String's been going for 6 years. Incredible. Truly incredible. Guys, I have somebody downstairs coming to pick up rackets. Give me a moment, please. Apologies guys, we're still rocking and rolling. Yep, somebody just came to pick up 2 demos. They need to leave a deposit, so quick chat. Oh, I just realized that I'm on the old earbuds. Not sure if you guys... it looks like it turned itself off. Right, now the AirPods are back on. Okay. Yeah, it's hard to, unless I'm stringing late at night, it's hard to get a clean run where nobody's bothering me. As always guys, stringing 1 ahead if I haven't mentioned that already. That's why I'm weaving the 2nd string despite having that 1 already placed or weaved. You want to make sure you keep doing that because it's easier to weave that 2nd string as to weaving 1 string, pulling it, weaving 1 string, and then pulling it. Much easier, much easier. Significantly easier, believe it or not. So yeah. This Pro String Nemesis is actually a very nice polyester string. So if you guys are breaking strings a lot and we're looking for a good string, I do have clients that have changed from Alu Power. I mean, especially RPM Blast. Our conversion ratio from RPM Blast users is huge. But I mean, 95% plus. And the only time sometimes people, oh no, I don't want to change, is because they're so used to RPM Blast. You know, anything they choose. It could even be Alu Power, and they may still like RPM. RPM, in my opinion, is and many other stringers I've spoken to, stringers on tour, who traveling on tour at the best tournaments in the world, ATP, WTA, they also agree that RPM Blast is just such a hard string. And it doesn't really affect durability, you know, as long as it's not like Luxilon Element, or it's, you know, that kind of soft. Then Alu Power is also soft, not as soft as Element. But yes, be careful with those really hard polyesters out there. I know a lot of you are Googling best tennis string. Speak to your local stringer. And some stringers, even then, still give crap advice. It's just unbelievable. If you play intermediate, look, long story short, if you're not breaking strings frequently, you should not be using a polyester string. There is no point, there's no real benefit. So if you're playing beginner, intermediate, if you're someone who doesn't play all that often, not weekly, go for synthetic cut maybe. If you're someone who's playing, you know, you are a keen tennis player, but you know, you're not advanced and you're not breaking strings at least once every 3 months, then go for multi-filament. Pay a little bit more, you're going to get a lot more out of the string. With us, for example, the difference between a synthetic gut, a basic synthetic gut, and a multi-filament is £8 extra. If you're playing weekly and you divide the £8 extra into every single time you use the racket, it's going to be much, you know, it's going to be very worth it, because if you did, like I said, it's going to be a few pennies extra every time you use the racket. If you divide those £8 extra into every single time you use the racket. Remember guys, the lifespan of a string tension-wise is only 3 months. So after 3 months, if you're feeling that the ball's starting to fly and you have no control, that's not necessarily because of your game or you. Yes, we can blame lots of things, including ourselves, but it really does make a big difference in your game if you change your strings every 3 months, if you're not somebody who typically breaks strings within 3 months. If you're breaking strings really frequently, then look into either a hybrid, depending on how often you break. Try that out first. And if that still carries on to be breaking quicker than your preference, then go full bed of polyester. Polyester is a durable string, but within reason, comparing to a multi-filament. For example, even the most premium of of polyester strings will not give you the feeling that a premium multi-filament string will give you. So polyester, again, great for durability. Guys, put your tension up. Last string, just about to tie our finishing knot. Polyesters are great for durability, but offer no feel, touch, and power. Obviously within reason. If you're comparing one polyester to other, then of course one may give you a bit more pop, a bit more feel, touch. Generally, the softer the polyesters are, will give you more feel, touch, and power, generally speaking. But there you have it, guys. Another one for the books, Parnell knot. Don't pull too hard. Again, this racket comes with little indications where you should do your tie-offs or your starting knot. I always recommend releasing your clamps first before tying your knots, because sometimes the knot tends to move, and if you cut it too short or for whatever you've done, it might slide. But I mean, no drama there really, just more than anything, precaution. Guys, straighten up your strings. Hopefully there's not too much for you guys to do when you take your racket off the machine. And like I always say sometimes as well, when you're taking your racket off your machine, it should just come off nice and easy. You shouldn't have to be using too much force to take your racket off the machine. If you're having to use loads of force or apply lots of pressure on the wheels or knobs, you have to tighten the racket far too tight on your mounting system. So be very careful with that. Don't want to warp the racket or break the racket or anything like that. Guys, thanks as always for tuning in. Much appreciated. Leave us a quick comment, whatever you liked, didn't like, where you're watching from, all that kind of fun stuff. No need to be harsh or rude. If there's something that we can improve, please feel free as well. And take care, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Bye-bye. Happy stringing. Ciao.